Yeah, this is the first, well, not really the first one, because we had a screening today during the day in Sintra, but this is the first Lisbon screening of our program, the Desejo called Utopia. And you can get that it has this sort of poetic name, and it has kind of poetic origins, the program, because it was conceived in Siberia with the help of lots of vodka. And yeah, and then it found its form, kind of utopian form, if you ask me. And the idea that we had with this program was not just to show, you know, how there are dystopian movies, for example, are their own genre. Not just to find an equivalent of it as, you know, the films about utopia in the classical political sense of the word, like the one Thomas More used. But our idea was to expand on that and to tackle or explore more complex and more diverse and maybe more interesting utopian impulses in the history of cinema. And so we have like quite a variety of films. Some of them are explicitly political, some of them are searching for political answers in personal lives and personal dramas. Some of them are about artistic utopia, an artist searching for a way to create their own world and to create a new vision of the world of humanity, of being. Some of them are exploring utopia, exploring cinema in search of utopia and trying to find the forms of cinema, trying to find a cinematic language that was never used before and that could be used to highlight the experiences that cinema avoided or omitted. So it's a huge variety of films, and we'll have two of them today. For one of them we have one special guest to speak. He will appear on the screen, and yeah, a virtual guest, and I guess you all will recognize him. And about the second one, my friend and colleague Alyosha will.
Yeah, but just a few words about Running Fence. That's a series of films by Maisels brothers and of documentaries about Christo and Jean-Claude, a pair of artists which had their huge artistic land art projects, and all of them are about the whole process, like from imagining the form till its actualization. And the one we chose, Running Fence, is maybe the most interesting in the way of this trying to introduce the project to common people on whose land is going to be erased, and all these debates are more explicit and more tough in this film than in any others of this series. And the second one is one of most famous Alexander Kluge's film, whom I hope you know, I'm sure. It's one of the guy who's responsible for emerging new German cinema, and you know, the one who put efforts to make this famous Oberhausen manifesto, from which a new wave of German cinema takes its origin. And now he's one of the most influential and most famous German left-wing intellectual, not only film director but also writer, and not only. And this film was made in 1968, and this actually both of them could be a good epigraph to the whole program, because they both deal with the political and artistic comprehension of utopia, and Kluge's film was made as a direct reaction on what was going on in Berlin and in Germany during '68, the student revolts, which he did not really support, not openly, like, and he was not, how to say, he was not part of this movement. And actually the same as Theodor Adorno, who was his teacher and the guy who convinced him to go into cinema. And this film was made between death of Benne Ohnesorge, which started the radicalization of protest, and between this and the death of Rudi Dutschke. Before this film was made, Kluge visited the occupied Film Academy, Berlin Film Academy, DFFB school, which was occupied, except others, by Harun Farokhi, whose film, the latest one, is also in our program, and Harmut Bitomsky. And and these young revolutionaries really attacked Kluge because he was not going to make cinema, agitprop cinema. Like, they thought that cinema at this moment should be like a part of direct action, and Kluge was not agree with them. And so this film is a kind of the one you're going to see is kind of an allegory about allegory of politically engaged artists in late capitalist state, and about this artistic utopia which confronts reality, and not just an economical reality, a social reality, but also the reality of human relations. And so for Kluge, the real utopia that world needs is a cinematic utopia of imagination, and the film form itself, half documentary, half fiction, really free going, in terms of editing, should provoke thought, should not just represent thought, his own thought, but provoke thought in viewers, and this thought is not less important part of the film as like what you see on the screen. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think just one word really quick about the idea of the concept of utopia that we decide to the sense we decide to give to the concept of utopia. Also, like, it's the question of not only a question of the realization or not of utopia, but really the sense of movies or stories who makes and create some impulse and movement to the spectators or to us.
Striving for utopia.
Yes, striving for this thing. And yeah, that's all. Yes, we have a booklet.
Yeah, and they wrote about roundtable.
Yeah, two things. Publicity moment. We have a booklet that we wrote texts about all the movies that are in the program. You can have it for €1 with the ticket when you buy a ticket for the session, and I think maybe it should be really interesting because you have kind of explanation of each movies. And also we have a roundtable, the 24th of November, for the closing of the program, with some directors who are coming, and I invite you all to come. Thank you and enjoy.